With Trump's latest move to defy conventional politics, the question is, will ditching Thursday's debate help him? Let's bring in David Swerdlick. He's an assistant editor at the Washington Post. David, firstly, is this unprecedented? The front runner of the Republican Party skipping a debate simply because he doesn't like a moderator?
It really does seem to be unprecedented, Lynda, and I think there's a short-term gain to be made for Trump if he really sees this through and doesn't show up at the debate. And that's that, he can basically dominate the next two news cycles and make it impossible for his rivals, particularly Senator Cruz, to get their message out, regardless of what that message is. Everybody's focused on Trump. Long term, I do sort of think that he's undermining his message that he's the toughest guy. He could take on Vladimir Putin. He could take on the Iranians, because he's basically saying he doesn't want to take on Megyn Kelly as a debate moderator. But leading up to Iowa in these next few days, I think this is a shrewd move on his part.
And speaking of Megyn Kelly, Trump did take to Twitter to express his opinion.
Right. And
this is what he said. He said, "I refuse to call Megyn Kelly a bimbo because that would not be politically correct. Instead, I will only call her a lightweight reporter." Is he creating a fight with a TV network that's typically aligned with GOP values?
Well, I think he's creating a fight with the network because the mood right now among Republican-based voters is that they like him for the fact that he's willing to take on all comers, including those within his party, including, as you say, a TV network that's seen as a conservative political network. But look, whether people like Megyn Kelly or don't like Megyn Kelly, there's nothing inappropriate about what she asked him in that first Republican debate. So he's really making something out of nothing. And frankly, his attacks on her, even if he's toned it down, are sexist.
And David, Trump, of course, is miles ahead of his rivals in the polls. You said he could make some short-term gains from this move. Does he have anything to lose by skipping the debate?
Well, at a minimum, he's giving his other rivals, like Senator Cruz, like Senator Rubio, a chance to have some airtime by themselves. But if Trump is able to pull off a parallel event on another network where he raises money for veterans, as he says he's going to do, I'm not sure if that's actually going to materialize, then there will be viewers and voters who want to watch that instead of watch the debate, because the debates without him are just not as entertaining.
That is true. So do you think this is all causing a bit of a headache for the GOP behind closed doors? Or what do you think the establishment members are saying?
Your guess is as good as mine, Lynda. I think they're scrambling. The establishment GOP, however we define that, is not thrilled with Trump. They're not thrilled with Cruz. Some folks have gone with Cruz just because they at least see him as someone they can understand and grapple with. But he's not popular among his Senate colleagues, as I'm sure you've reported to your viewers. And at the same time, Trump is seen more as someone who's ideologically flexible and will work with sort of the powers that be. But at the same time, Trump only answers to himself in this campaign, and that's a problem for the quote-unquote establishment.
It certainly will be interesting to see what the TV ratings are like after the debate. David Swerdlick from the Washington Post, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is at the White House this hour for a meeting with US President Barack Obama. It's their first such talk since Sanders began gaining ground in the polls on Hillary Clinton. Mr. Obama does not plan to endorse a candidate, though he's praised Clinton as being ready for the job. Now, Sanders holds a razor-thin lead over Clinton, just days away from the Iowa Democratic presidential caucuses. Look at this latest CNN poll, which averages the four most recent viable Iowa polls. It gives Sanders 46%. That's just 1 percentage point ahead of Clinton's 45%. Former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley is in a very distant third place with just 4%.